All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive on something that's pretty essential to our everyday lives.
Okay.
HVAC systems.
Yeah.
The stuff that keeps our homes nice and comfortable all year round.
Right.
You actually sent me over some really interesting info on this, and
Yeah.
you seem ready to go way beyond just adjusting the thermostat.
I am.
So are you ready to become an HVAC aficionado?
I'd say so. I mean, it's amazing how many people just kind of take these systems for granted, you know?
Right?
Like they just set it and forget it. But there's so much cool stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of us who hadn't really thought about it much,
Yeah.
let's start with the basics, like what even is HVAC?
Yeah.
I mean, we know it stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Right.
But what does that actually mean, like, in practice in our homes?
Yeah. It's really all about creating a healthy and comfortable indoor environment.
Okay.
And that's not just about temperature. It's about filtering the air, managing humidity, and making sure there's proper ventilation. So
Okay.
it's kind of like, thinking of HVAC as the lungs of your house.
Oh, okay.
Keeping the air clean and fresh.
I like that analogy. Yeah, and speaking of clean air, I was reading that a good HVAC system can actually filter out
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of yucky stuff that we don't want to be breathing in, like
For sure.
those pollen, even mold spores.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like having a built-in air purifier for your entire house.
Yeah, and the history of this technology is actually pretty interesting.
Really?
Did you know that the first modern air conditioner wasn't even designed to keep people cool?
Oh, really? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so back in 1902,
Okay.
there was this guy, Willis Carrier,
Okay.
and he invented the first AC to solve a humidity problem in a printing factory.
Okay.
Excess moisture was messing up the paper.
Oh, wow.
So he created this machine to control the humidity, and boom, air conditioning was born.
Wow, that's amazing. It's incredible how an invention for one purpose can end up having such a
Right.
huge impact on,
Totally.
how we live our lives every day.
Yeah.
So let's get into how it actually works. How does an AC make things colder?
Okay.
It sometimes feels like magic.
Yeah, it's not really about creating cold. It's
Okay.
about transferring heat.
Okay.
So think of your AC as a heat transporter,
Okay.
moving warmth from the inside to the outside.
Okay.
And the key to this is a special fluid called refrigerant.
Refrigerant. I've heard of that. Isn't
Yeah.
that the stuff that gets like super cold?
Well, it's not that it gets cold. It's
Huh.
more that it can absorb and release heat
Okay.
really, really efficiently.
Okay.
And it goes through this cycle inside the AC system where it acts like a heat sponge,
Okay.
soaking up the warmth from your house and then releasing it outside.
Okay, so I'm starting to get it, but can we break down this heat sponge process a little bit more?
Yeah.
Like, what are the main parts involved?
Absolutely. So let's start with the evaporator coil.
Okay.
It's inside your house, usually part of the air handler.
Okay.
And warm air from your house blows over this coil.
Mm-hmm.
Refrigerant inside absorbs the heat,
Okay.
which cools the air.
So the air gets cooler and the refrigerant gets warmer.
Exactly.
Got it. What happens next?
All right, so next, the warmed up refrigerant gets pumped outside to the condenser coil.
Okay.
You know that big metal box you usually see outside?
Yeah.
That's where the condenser releases all that absorbed heat into the outdoor air.
Okay.
It's like wringing out the heat sponge.
That's why it feels so hot when you stand next to the outdoor unit.
Exactly.
It's all that heat being dumped outside.
Exactly. And once the refrigerant has released the heat,
Okay.
it goes through this thing called an expansion valve,
Mm-hmm.
which lowers the pressure and temperature even further.
Okay.
And then it's ready to absorb more heat
Okay.
as it cycles back to the evaporator coil inside, and the whole process starts over again.
Wow. So it's just this continuous loop of heat transfer.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing when you think about all the steps involved.
Right.
Oh, and remember that dripping water you'd sometimes see coming from your AC unit?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people think it's a leak,
Right.
but it's actually condensation.
Exactly.
As the system cools the air, it also removes moisture,
Yeah.
and that moisture condenses into water droplets.
Yeah.
Just like a cold drink sweating on a hot day.
Exactly the same thing.
Okay, so we've covered cooling, but what about heating in the winter? How
Yeah.
do these systems make things warmer?
That's a great question, and we can definitely get into that. But
Okay.
first, let's talk a bit more about those heat sponges and how they differ depending on what type of system you have.
Okay.
When we were talking about refrigerants as these heat sponges,
Yeah.
it got me thinking about how they actually work differently,
Okay.
depending on what kind of HVAC system you have.
Interesting. I never really thought about there being different types of heat sponges. I kind of assumed it was like a one-size-fits-all thing.
Not quite. The basic principles are the same,
Okay.
but the way they're applied can be different.
Okay.
For example, some systems use what's called a single-stage compressor,
Okay.
which basically means it's either on or off,
Okay.
It's like a light switch, full blast cooling, or no cooling at all.
Okay, so it's either go big or go home.
Exactly, but then you have systems with two-stage compressors,
Okay.
which can run at higher low speeds.
Oh, okay.
It's more like a dimmer switch,
Okay.
allowing for more precise temperature control.
So you can like fine tune it to match what you need.
Exactly.
Got it.
And then there are variable speed systems,
Okay.
which are even more sophisticated.
Okay.
They can actually adjust their output in these tiny little increments
Wow.
to match the heating or cooling demand of your home.
So it's constantly making tiny adjustments to keep things perfect without
Exact.
wasting energy.
It's like having this super smart thermostat
Okay.
that knows what you need before you even do.
Wow, technology's amazing.
Right?
I had no idea there were so many different variations
Yeah.
on this heat sponge concept.
They're
So are these different types of compressors like the main thing?
they're a big part of it,
Okay.
but there are other things too, like what type of heating system you have.
Oh, right.
You mentioned wanting to learn more about how these systems handle heating in the winter.
Yes, let's get into that.
And that's where things get even more interesting. So
Okay.
you have two main options for heating:
Okay.
furnaces and heat pumps.
Okay.
A furnace works by burning fuel,
Okay.
typically natural gas or propane,
Okay.
to create heat.
Mm-hmm.
And then that heat is distributed through ducts.
So it's like a central heater with
Yeah,
all these little highways of air spreading the warmth
exactly.
throughout the house.
Exactly. Now, a heat pump is a bit different.
Okay.
It works like an air conditioner in reverse. So
Right.
instead of transferring heat out of your home,
Okay.
it pulls heat in from the outside air,
Wait, even when it's cold outside?
even when it's cold.
How is that even possible?
It sounds kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But even cold air contains some heat energy.
Okay.
And the heat pump uses this special refrigerant cycle
Okay.
to extract that heat and bring it inside.
Oh.
It's kind of like a refrigerator in reverse,
Okay.
taking the cold from inside and moving it outside.
That's pretty cool. So a heat pump can both heat and cool?
Yes, depending on the season,
Okay.
and it's incredibly efficient.
Okay.
Heat pumps can cut your heating costs by up to 50%
Wow. Okay, that's a big selling point.
compared to traditional furnaces.
Yeah, it's a serious incentive to consider a heat pump.
Right.
But I'm guessing there are like pros and cons
Of course.
to each system, right?
There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
When it comes to HVAC,
Sure.
furnaces tend to be less expensive up front,
Okay.
but might cost more to run in the long term.
Okay.
Heat pumps are more efficient,
Mm-hmm.
but can be pricier to install.
Okay.
So it depends on your climate, your
Right,
budget,
right.
and your goals.
Yeah, so it's all about weighing the trade-offs.
Yeah.
This is making me think about all the different types of HVAC systems out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a furnace or a heat pump, right?
No, definitely not.
Like, what else is there?
There are all these different configurations and combinations.
Okay.
You have split systems, ductless systems, packaged units,
Okay.
each with its own pros and cons.
So what are some of the key differences between these systems?
Okay, so a split system is the most common type.
Okay.
It's what most people picture when they think of central air.
Right.
You have an indoor unit with vents and an outdoor unit with the compressor and condenser.
Yeah, the classic indoor-outdoor duo.
Right, and the split part
Yeah.
refers to how the components are split between those two units.
Okay.
And they're connected by refrigerant lines
Okay.
that allow that heat transfer process to happen.
Got it. So what about these ductless systems?
So a ductless system, as the name suggests,
Yeah.
doesn't use ducts.
Okay.
Instead of connecting to a network of ducts,
Mm-hmm.
it uses these individual indoor units,
Okay.
mounted on the wall or ceiling in each room.
Oh, so it's like having individual climate zones
Exactly.
for different areas of the house.
Exactly. And ductless systems offers a lot of flexibility.
Okay.
They're often a good choice for room additions
Well-
or for homes that don't have existing ductwork.
So many options.
Yeah,
I'm realizing there's a lot more to HVAC than I thought.
there is.
And there's one more crucial aspect of HVAC
Yes.
that we haven't really touched on yet.
Right.
Ventilation.
Ventilation, that's the V in HVAC.
Yes, we've covered heating and cooling.
Right.
But what about fresh air?
Exactly. Ventilation is all about bringing fresh air into your home
Okay.
and expelling stale air.
Okay.
It's crucial for maintaining good indoor air quality
Okay.
and preventing the buildup of pollutants and moisture.
So it's not just about temperature control.
Right.
It's about making sure the air is healthy
Absolutely.
and breathable.
And that's why it's so important to have a properly designed and
Yeah.
maintained ventilation system.
And I'm guessing this goes beyond just opening a window every now and then.
It does. A good HVAC system
Okay.
will include a dedicated ventilation system
Okay.
that's constantly circulating and filtering the air.
Wow. So it's like having this constant supply of fresh air
Exactly.
flowing through your home.
Exactly.
Wow. I had no idea ventilation was so important.
It is.
It's like we've been focusing on the heart and the lungs of the system,
Yeah.
but we can't forget about the brain that's controlling it all.
You got it. And speaking of the brain,
Yeah.
there have been some amazing advancements in HVAC controls lately,
Oh, really?
especially with the rise of smart home technology.
Okay. When you say smart home technology, is that what you're talking about when you say the brain of an HVAC system?
Exactly. We've come a long way from those simple thermostats on the wall.
Yeah.
Smart thermostats are like revolutionizing how we interact with these systems.
So it's more than just setting a temperature and forgetting about it.
Way more smart thermostats can actually learn
Oh, wow.
your habits and preferences
Right.
and automatically adjust the temperature throughout the day
Okay.
to be more comfortable and efficient.
That's really cool. So it's like having a personal HVAC assistant
Yeah.
who knows when to crank up the heat or cool things down.
That's a great way to put it. And some of them can even connect to your phone so you can control everything remotely.
Oh, wow. Imagine you're on your way home from work
Right.
on a super hot day,
Yeah.
and you could just use your phone to turn on the AC
Right.
before you even get there.
Yeah.
No more walking into a sauna.
No more sauna.
That's awesome.
And that's just the beginning.
Really?
Smart HVAC tech is constantly evolving.
Wow.
We're seeing systems now that can monitor air quality, detect leaks, and even predict potential problems
Oh, wow.
before they even happen.
So it's like having this HVAC guardian angel
It really is.
watching over your house and making sure everything's running smoothly.
Yeah, and this all kind of ties into
Yeah.
a bigger trend in the HVAC world right now.
Okay, what's that?
Sustainability and energy efficiency.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's talking about
Right.
reducing their carbon footprint these days.
For sure.
And HVAC is a big part of that.
Absolutely. We're seeing this shift towards more eco-friendly technologies,
Okay.
like geothermal heat pumps.
Geothermal heat pumps. I remember reading about those.
Yeah.
They sound super futuristic.
They are pretty cool. They
Yeah.
tap into the constant temperature of the earth
Oh, wow.
to heat and cool your home.
So it's like having this massive natural heat exchanger
Yeah,
right under your house.
right in your backyard.
That's incredible. But how does it actually work?
So basically, it uses this network of underground pipes
Okay.
filled with a refrigerant solution.
Okay.
In the winter, the refrigerant absorbs heat from the earth
Okay.
and brings it into your house. And then in the summer,
Yeah.
it reverses the process,
Oh, wow.
pulling heat from your house and releasing it into the cool air ground.
So it's like this giant underground loop
Yeah.
that's just constantly moving heat back and forth.
Exactly. And because it's using the Earth's natural temperature,
Yeah.
it's super energy efficient.
How efficient are we talking?
Geothermal systems can reduce your heating and cooling costs
Okay.
by up to 70%
Wow, compared to traditional systems.
compared to traditional systems.
That's huge. And I'm guessing they're pretty good for the environment, too.
They don't use fossil fuels,
Okay.
so their carbon footprint is much smaller.
Okay, I'm sold. What about solar-powered HVAC?
Okay, so solar-powered systems
Yeah.
use solar panels to create electricity,
Okay.
which then powers the heating and cooling equipment.
So it's using the power of the sun
Exactly.
to keep your home comfortable.
And as solar panel tech gets more affordable,
Okay.
we're seeing more and more people integrate solar
Yeah.
into their HVAC systems.
It just seems so natural, like
It does.
harnessing the power of the sun
Yeah,
to make your home a comfortable place to be.
exactly. And it can really cut down on those energy bills
Yeah,
and make you less reliant on the grid.
that's awesome. It's amazing to think about all these innovations
Right.
happening in the world of HVAC,
It is.
from smart thermostats to geothermal and solar power.
Yeah,
It seems like the future of home comfort is really bright.
it is. And it's all about
Yeah.
creating more sustainable, efficient, and comfortable living spaces.
I love that. Well, I gotta say, I've learned a ton about HVAC systems today.
It's a fascinating topic.
It is. It really is. It's amazing how much goes on behind the scenes
Right.
to keep our homes comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to look at my thermostat differently now.
Good.
And who knows, maybe I'll even upgrade to geothermal someday.
Maybe.
That's awesome. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of HVAC.
It does.
To all our listeners out there, we hope you've enjoyed this little journey into the world of heating, cooling, and ventilation.
Absolutely.
And remember, whether you have a basic thermostat or a super high-tech geothermal system,
Right.
the most important thing is to create a home environment that's comfortable, healthy,
Yeah.
and energy efficient.
Absolutely.
Until next time, stay cool, stay warm, and stay curious.
Great advice.